Bonjour everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we are going to take a look at what I think is the best tier 10 tank destroyer. You have it right in front of your eyes. This is the Foch 155, a Frenchie, so I'm kind of proud. And basically what makes this tank in my top, in my opinion, is the combination of all its factors, but most specifically the gun that is just out of this world for two reasons. The first is the overall magazine reload time, 12.8 seconds. For a whole autoloader mechanism, it's really small. Of course, it's kind of compensated by the fact that between your shells, you have 7 seconds of reload. 2 shells in the magazine and each of them dealing 560 alpha damage for a total output of 1120 hit points. Trust me, you deliver that in 7 seconds and you are going to be frightening to pretty much everything you are going to encounter. On top of that, the armor profile of that thing is just crazy for one reason, at least crazy when people are not shooting with the gold shell. It's extremely angled. On top of that, if you are using the right attachment, the one I'm currently having right now, it's gonna hide a little bit your weak spots because that part here is supposed to be a weak spot, but honestly, without gold shell, you will not go through it. Whereas the other one, that is a real weak spot, can be hidden by this little lamp right there that I put using the right attachment, which is the one they put on the tank a very long time ago. You see, when I remove it, I get the lamp or I do not get it. It's also the same on the sides, by the way, for the people that don't want to spend 4,000 gold for just a lamp, which is kind of understandable. And finally, the mobility. It's probably the best mobility I've seen out of all the tier 10 tank destroyer, now that the 263 and the Grill 15 got nerfed, because you go to 50 kilometers per hour, which means that you relocate faster, you go to your positions as fast as possible, and basically you have a whole combination of armor, mobility, and DPM. And all of those factors combined are obviously going to get you a great tank. There we go for a replay in which we are going to be able to showcase pretty much two of the factors I talked about, the mobility and the DPM. Because usually the problem with the Foch 155 is that it's been in the game for so long that people are aware that they need to shoot with gold shell in order to penetrate you quite easily. Because the upper plate of the hull is able to bounce only when you get to maximum 260 millimeters of penetration. If it's going to be above, the chances are that you are going to get penetrated quite easily, and most tier 10 using gold shell, and even all of them actually, have that possibility, except for the AV4202 using HES shells, but that's a subject for another video. So basically, what you are currently seeing is the mobility aspect of the tank. Just take a look at this. We were at our spawn, and we get to the enemy spawn within the first minute of the game. It's probably the only tank destroyer that is capable of such movement. Now, on the rest, you can use it as a spotter, like I'm currently doing, but I would not encourage you to do that much. It's not necessarily what will get you the lead and what will get you the victory, the damage, etc. But here, as it was a little bit special and I was 100% sure that the opponents went on the other side, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try to take them by their rear, from the rear, and it seems like it's working. That poor T10 doesn't know where to go. He, in the first minute of the game, stayed in the spot, and now he's in a tricky situation. So what are we gonna do? We are obviously gonna push, because we have an advantage on hills, and this is the kind of things that I encourage you to do with this tank. On a hill, you are going to artificially increase your overall armor, and if you use it wisely, you will be able to bounce even if tank destroyers are using gold shells against you. So what are we currently doing? We take a shot, but we kind of don't care. I really want to get the T10 and I managed to slip one of my shells. I know that I have some support with the AV4005 in the back, but I also know that I'm the target on the other side. The main problem, and one of the biggest downsides of the Foch 155, is that the side armor is totally irrelevant. Even if you're angled just the slightest, people will be able to penetrate. It's the same problem as the one we encounter on the T10 so be careful with that. Always stay in front of your opponents. And saying that, great ammo rack by the way, saying that, it tells me that this is kind of a newbie-friendly tank on the armor profile for that reason only. You do not need, with this tank, to try to angle, side scrape, things like that. You just throw it in the trash. You just stay in front of your opponents. On top of that, as you're not supposed to be active and to go directly into fight sessions with the opponents, you will not struggle too much using your mobility. It's just switching from bushes to bushes. And when you will get comfortable playing the tank, you will be able to play aggressively like I'm currently doing. But of course, playing aggressively is not something magical. You still need to have the support of your team, or at least know that you have an autoloader, which means that when you are reloading all your shells, people will try to take you out. So what I encourage you to do is to always be with at least someone that can sneak some shots while you're reloading your autoloader. Because here, even if it's short, because it's actually less than 13 seconds, in 13 seconds, a lot of tank can inflict a lot of damage. Just imagine you're sitting in front of two opponents that reload in 7 seconds, let's say. They will snap 2 shots before the end of your reload, or at least before you can unleash a second time your 2 shells in the magazine. So in definitive, in my opinion, the foch 155, since its released and specifically since the day Wargaming decided to equip it with an autoloader, became one of my favorite tanks to play and probably the favorite of many players. And if you don't have it already, here is your chance with the new update, the 9.1. This tank got buffed. I couldn't tell you exactly what went through Wargaming's mind, because in my opinion, before the buff, the tank was already strong, but Wargaming decided to lower down even more the reload time, which means that now this thing has an amazing DPM. It was already the case before, but now it's just goddamn. Even if it's not necessarily the biggest change, as you can see, the 2 shell gun goes for the reload from 14.38 seconds to 13.42. But reloading in less than 30 seconds, knowing that you have an autoloader, feels like an M60 with a much bigger penetration, much bigger alpha damage, and therefore a much bigger and better gun overall. So hopefully you enjoyed. If that's the case, feel free to subscribe, like, and share, and tell me in the comments, what do you think about the foch 155? Besides the fact that the gun depression is not the best, this tank is definitely packing some serious advantages over the other tank destroyers, making it one of my favorites. So yeah.